a lot of those immigrants came to the United States because they were fearful of their lives under temporary protected status. And you know what Trump is doing in return? Trying to classify them as criminals.
But if you're spending your time fighting against mythical concentration camps, you're so worried and you're driving everybody into a psychosis, not at all helpful. Stick with the facts.
What's going on, you guys? Today we have more Ana Kasparian and Cenk Uygur acting foolish. Today they are defending Trump. Emma Vigeland and Sam Seder are not having any of it. Again, let's tune into Ana Kasparian and Cenk Uygur.
Camps are coming. Everybody's so super scared. That's what Trump wants. But
that is what he wants.
So I need everyone on that side to answer. Was it a concentration camp when Clinton did it? Okay, so let's be consistent, and maybe you'll say, yeah, it was, and you remember the Holocaust that happened right afterwards. Okay, so it doesn't excuse it. He shouldn't send them there. There's plenty of facilities here. And again, these are criminals, and I know, and here's another part that I'm opposed to. When they round up people that were not convicted of a crime, I'm against it, okay? So, and for a couple of reasons. And when they say, well, somebody was accused, good enough. No, not good enough. That's exactly one of the problems with sending people to Gitmo. That's exactly what we did last time. Somebody was accused, good enough. No, we got a whole bunch of people who didn't do it at all, that sat there for so long and got tortured, right? So I'm against the policy, but if you say this migrant center that we have used before, including Democratic presidents, is a concentration camp where they're going to do mass deportations of everyone, including Chinese Americans or whatever, right? Or Chinese immigrants or whatever crazy thing we're making up today. Well, you're doing a giant disservice to the truth and to your own viewers, readers, etc. You owe them the truth. And by the way, look, when you say about the LGBTQ community, there are things that you should be deeply concerned about. And we talked about it on the show the other day, or actually several times, which is banning transgender people from the military. I think that's outrageous. I think it's unconstitutional. I think that's the thing we need to focus on and fight back against. But if you're spending your time fighting against mythical concentration camps, you're so worried and you're driving everybody into a psychosis, not at all helpful. Stick with the facts. Lou B says, I'm certain the very same argument was made in support of World War II Japanese internment camps. Quote, we just want to protect them. I'm positive you're right about that. And that's why I'm opposed to sending them to Gitmo. So
by the way.
So here we have Cenk Uygur, who is saying, they have more important things to worry about than sending 30,000 people to Guantanamo Bay. That there are more important things to worry about. That we shouldn't, that we should understand that, that this isn't the end of the world, that this isn't telling of any signs, and this is just common for Cenk Uygur and Ana Kasparian, that keep on wanting to say, oh, it's not that bad, it's not that bad. Let's hear them out. Let's see where this could be going, and it's like, no, dude, this is not something to hear anyone out. This is something that is an issue. It's a very clear issue.
Let me just say, this isn't about protecting anybody, right? I also disagree with sending migrants to Gitmo. And I'm also furious that despite pretending like Obama and Biden were gonna close Gitmo, they did not do that. Okay, they did not shut down Gitmo. And so when you leave certain practices in place, okay, and that's the thing that drives me crazy, right? The reason why I have a problem with the lack of coverage of what Democrats are up to, because I do think corporate media provides cover for the bad behavior of Democrats. What ends up happening is it makes someone like Donald Trump seem like a unique threat. And
here we have Ana Kasparian and Cenk Uygur, she's not able to call a spade a spade. She's going to say that it's Barack Obama and Joe Biden, that they're the ones, they didn't close Guantanamo Bay, that's what's going down. Instead of, Trump is the one that literally just did it. Let's call him out. Let's say that he did that. He is in here and he is putting in these policies like immediately that are very damaging. But no, we're not, it's another person's fault. We should put the blame on someone else. More misdirection. Let's see what Emma Vigeland has to say about it.
I mean, I guess it's because Guantanamo Bay is involved, but that presents a whole other series of deeply troubling questions about the role of the United States military in this effort to put 30,000 immigrants that they're claiming are criminals without evidence into a mass camp on Guantanamo Bay, which has a history of abuse and shadowy behavior. To put it mildly, Amnesty International called it a gulag. That's when he says 1994, he is right. Bill Clinton did previously use that Guantanamo base, and that's separate from the maximum security prison. There's another part of the base that has areas where you can theoretically house migrants, and Clinton had used it to process Haitian and Cuban refugees and asylum seekers, but he was accused of human rights violations at the time then too, and apparently those facilities have been basically kind of like in disrepair for a while. So the idea that these conditions would be anything but inhumane is very far-fetched to me.
Yeah, big giant torture camp. And of course, Bill Clinton blames his election loss in 1980 on an escape of people from the Mariel boat lift in Cuba. People can read about that. It embarrassed him. But this is like a larger... So this stuff that went on with Cuba and Mexico... Right now, there's a line being set, and that we should all try to make sure is able to be recognized by Mexico and Colombia, that we will take our refugees or our returnees, let's call them, that you want to return. We're not going to just take them from every other country, which they did during like the COVID era, for instance. And Kurt and Jose Luis of the Soberania show on YouTube have gone into this, but they need this reserve capacity because you need cooperation from when Pete says we're going to take them back to all the places that they're going. Well, actually, that's kind of fraught because you need to actually have a working relationship with these governments to do that. And so they can threaten tariffs, they can threaten all this stuff, but
so here we have Emma Vigeland, speaking truth to power. She's saying that these like places are not good conditions. These are places that are not great for the people. Focus it back on the people. There's a clear difference between the Young Turks, Ana Kasparian, and Cenk Uygur. They are defending, saying, well, it's not completely Trump's fault. This isn't something that has to really, let's get it off of Trump. And then they decide not to talk about it. Whenever they're saying, oh, yeah, of course we're upset about it, about the immigrants. Of course we're upset about the fact that this is happening. But let's not blame it all on, and then instead of let's see what's actually happening. Like, let's cover this story in a humane way. Let's talk about the conditions of Guantanamo Bay, where they're bringing the immigrants. It's really deplorable. These are like the worst conditions. Lord knows what's going on over there. Let's keep on watching.
If, let's say, how are you getting Venezuela returnees back? Well, just put them in Guantanamo, then is where this is being set up. And yeah, we are at a concentration camp logic. I don't think it was too alarmist to say it in the first administration. I think that was a precursor to what we're seeing now.
Yep.
And, I remember Trump taking a shot at Bukele in El Salvador during the RNC. I don't know if people remember that. But it seemed weird because Bukele is a big giant fascist who's locking everybody up. But it seems to me that was probably about getting Bukele to accept some of these removals as well.
No, I mean, just to echo what Matt is saying, I think it's clear that they're looking to create more and more categories for people in America to be inherently criminalized, and then for that inherent criminalization to eventually lead to the label of terrorism. And when someone's labeled a terrorist, they are, forfeit of their civil and human rights, and we get to torture them. That's why you hear, the inherent criminalization of immigrants becoming all about MS-13. MS-13 and other cartels are being put on the state-sponsored terrorism list or the terrorist list in general. And, it's so that we have a better justification for stripping away the rights of not just undocumented immigrants in America, but also just like people who resemble undocumented immigrants, which, spoiler alert, is everybody. Everyone in America could look like an undocumented immigrant. We racialize the conversation to be about immigrants from South America. But as I mentioned on my stream and everywhere I go, like every so often they do a dragnet in Boston and they capture a ton of Irish immigrants here who are here without documentation. They do the same to undocumented people from Eastern Europe and also from Canada. And if you don't think you look like a Eastern European or an Irish person or like a Canadian, you're lying to yourself. Like, this is just like the way we talk about immigration is geared towards getting people to think that they're the exception. That, even undocumented people who support Trump or Latino people who support Trump imagine that there's going to be
right. And this is exactly how it starts, is that you have this moral order that comes in where they start to think that, okay, well, I'm better than X and X. This doesn't pertain to me because I'm not a South American immigrant. This doesn't have anything to do with me. And the next thing you know, now you have people, this happens to all immigrants, not just to people on one race. This is happening to everyone. And the next thing you know, okay, well, it's enforcing this moral order of, that we have people that are better than people. We have actual humans that are better. Like, that's what they're enforcing right now. It's very, very clear, and it's terrible to see. Let's keep on watching.
Easy visual cue between them and other, and other Latino people or the undocumented people. And that's not even true if you're not Latino. That's what we saw with the Haitian immigrant moral panic that they tried to start in Ohio. And it's just going to continue to spiral out of control.
They were successful at that, by the way. And I headlined this earlier, but Trump is removing the temporary protected status for 600,000 Venezuelan migrants who were here under the same program that those Haitian immigrants were in Ohio. And he's going to attempt to deport all of those folks. And we saw the profiling of some of these Haitian immigrants who just said, I was fleeing violence. I was a doctor back home. Now I'm doing this kind of work, X, Y, and Z. These are the folks he wants to throw in Guantanamo Bay.
These are folks are called criminals.
Criminals. And there's no evidence. And I'm really disgusted, honestly, by the media, because I keep waiting for the press to ask these questions about the evidence that they have that these immigrants are criminals. Because from what I'm seeing, like, I see a lot of news outlets just running with it. Oh, they're going after the criminals. No, that's what Obama did. And it was already pretty aggressive in his deportation policy. He deported many, many, many people.
More than Trump.
But like the Venezuelan thing too, Trump tried to do a coup in Venezuela back when he was president. And
destroyed their oil industry.
Destabilized the country. A lot of those immigrants came to the United States because they were fearful of their lives under temporary protected status. And you know what Trump is doing in return? Trying to classify them as criminals, such intense criminals, such violent criminals, that it would justify putting them in our most infamous torture facility, Guantanamo Bay.
So there we have it, you guys. It's a clear difference on, you have one channel, you have one TYT, Ana Kasparian, Cenk Uygur. They're covering this story and they're saying, oh, it's not that bad. It's the criminals that are going in. We're upset about it, but, this has been done before. And it's really not even Trump's fault. We have other people, Barack Obama and Joe Biden said they were going to close it, and then we have and they're not even in power anymore, so there's nothing you could do about that. And then now you have Emma Vigeland, in the majority report. They're saying, let's talk about how bad it is. This is terrible. We have Trump, who literally destabilized the country, destabilized Venezuela, whenever in his first term, had all the immigrants seek refuge over here, and now he's put them in Guantanamo Bay. And he's just causing trouble nonstop. I think the more that you can see who you're dealing with and what actually is going on, that has to happen before whatever Cenk Uygur and Ana Kasparian are doing. You have to know who you're dealing with first before you know how to actually deal with it. And we're dealing with some crazy people. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. It's another day in the progressive way.